So we're gonna take this number here of 100 people, and this 100 would signify 100 people that you end up engaging with in this process. So the reason that this is important to note is because if you actually understand the numbers behind this engagement process, this will help you understand how to look at the conversion process on a basis of numbers. So like this, a lot of people don't know this, very obviously. If you were to break this 100 down into 50-50, right? 50%, right? 50% of these people that you engage with, which means like they'll watch your content, you may even send them an outreach message. They may watch your VSL, they may be in your thing, right? Half of these people are never gonna buy. They don't care. They're not your ICP. Okay? The reason this is important to note is because, now, is this always 50? No, but like average, half of the people that you engage with, they're never gonna buy your shit anyway. They don't care about what you have and they're not your ICP. This is important to note because when you spend time engaging with these people, it deteriorates your fucking business. It makes you think that you're not good at selling. It devalues your process. You waste time. You waste your team's energy. You waste your own fucking energy. You waste their energy. And essentially, you know, and even in the nicest way, you delay them getting the results they're trying to achieve and whatever they're trying to achieve, right? So the reason that this is really important to note is because in the actual day-to-day process of booking phone calls, right? It's important to note that half of these fucking people don't give a fuck about what you're selling. They're never gonna buy your shit, and they're not your ICP because you have to be able to work through a filtering mechanism, which I'm gonna explain in further detail in the DM process, to be able to efficiently work through these people and know that you're talking to someone that is legitimate. This is important to note because like when it comes to DM setting, you're doing a repeated action literally hundreds of fucking times a day. So like, even if you're at 10K a month and you're setting yourself, or if you're doing 75K a month and you have a team of setters that are one setter, two setters that is closing your deals for you, they have to know this as well, right? So this other 50% of people, the good news, right? So if these are your non-buyers, and these are your buyers, there's actually an even smaller subset of people that are going to actually buy your thing now. And now is like now with like a week from now. So we'll break this down in another way, 35% and 15%. This 35% of this half of these people are, and the good thing about this is that these people exist in the organic funnel ecosystem, right? So everything that I just explained before, this is where these people are actually hanging out. But this is really important to note because 35% of these people aren't gonna buy your shit, or excuse me, they will buy, but not within the next 3 to 6 months. So like, I'll give you an example. Evan, he knew about my brand for 6 weeks and bought one of my most expensive programs. This type of individual he is, right? That was just him. And may have been personal circumstances that caused him to do that, right? I don't know. Wasn't in his life. Zach and Brendan took a little bit longer to convert, right? But I knew that they were both there. So I treated Zach and Brendan not differently, but in a different way because they were in a different part of the funnel. So the reason that this is important to note, like I said before, is because these individuals are the actual people that you have to focus on nurturing. These people too. But, and I'll break this down for you really quick, right? So 15% of the half of these people are the people that you're engaging with right now. So I'll give you an example for just like a second, okay? Let's say I'm gonna list like 4 different people. We have Jim, John, Bob, and then Phil, okay? So, we're just gonna break this down into multiple parts. So this is just like before how I explained the funnel, how the funnel works. You have Reels, Stories, DM, VSL, sales call, right? Like these are all the parts of the funnel that I just explained before. I'll give you an example. Like Jim and John would be the people that are coming in that are like 3 to 6 months, right? And then Bob and Phil, these are the people that are like closer to being nurtured. And if you were to look at them like, let's say that, you know, this is a fucking, I know it looks like a dick, but it's supposed to be a thermometer. All right? 100 degrees Celsius, 0 degrees Celsius. So the reason I'm showing this to you guys is because like when you start to actually look at, it says warm up. When you start to look at your prospects as like at a different temperature level and everyone's at a different temperature level, you can't control it. Just people they fucking, I'll explain in more detail, right? They have trust issues. They worked with another coach that fucked them over. They just fucking bought a house. Someone has a kid. There's a thing that happened. A storm came. There's a flood. Fucking, there's just a bunch of shit that happens, right? We just can't control where people are at. Technically can't control where people are at in this process. All we can do is just nurture them the best we can so that when they're ready, we're fucking there. And we can have that conversation and we can close them on the deal, convert them to the phone call. The reason that this is important to note, though, is because if you know, right, like where someone is at in the process, then you don't waste time on them because you let the funnel take care of the nurturing sequence. And what I mean is this. Like if Jim comes in, right, and it takes Jim having to watch a reel every single day, all of my stories, have a DM conversation that lasts 11 fucking days. He watches the VSL 12 times to really, really make sure I'm not gonna scam him again like his other coach, you know? And then he fights my fucking closer on the sales call, right? Then finally closes on a deal, right? It's just because of where Jim was at in that process, right? It's like, and Jim was here, right? Jim is in that 15% that is ready to buy within a week to 90 days. But it's essentially our job is to make sure that they don't spend any more time than they have to in this second part, right? We want to push them as quickly as we can. Because then, if not, another coach could get to them, which that's the worst case scenario, right? Because we're better. Like our program's better than the other coach. So like we want to get them to them first, and we want to nurture them first. And the reason that this is important to note is because you'll know based on where they're at and based off of the type of buyer that they're at, the buyer that they are, how they will buy your shit. So for example, I gave an example in the one training that I did. Like Jim, like I said, Jim, for example, this guy, if Jim is a guy that, let's say for fitness, for example, you know, he worked with a fitness coach that fucked him over, right? He also just bought a new house and spent like $12,000 furnishing the place. And he also has again, trust issues, right? He's going to, while he's in the process of talking to you, he's gonna be going back to your reels. He's gonna watch all your reels. He's gonna watch all your stories. He's gonna literally check for fucking gaps in your process, right? Because he's trust issues, right? Just like anyone else that would be spending thousands of dollars on something, they're like, wait a second. They're like, before I send this fucking money to this guy, like, I know it's not free. Like, by the way, everyone knows that when they're getting on a call, they're gonna be pitched something. They know it. No one's stupid enough to think like, it's just a free strategy call, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? It's like, people know that they're gonna be pitched on something. So the reason I'm saying this is because Jim and John, for example, if we have a process that states, okay, well, while someone spends time in our reels and in our stories, and then they watch the YouTube video, well, they should be ready to buy. So when I have a conversation with them, I'm going to make sure that I pitch them the phone call. Well, we know that Zach and Brandon, and sometimes this happens where we go to book a phone call with somebody and they don't book. It's like they're not ready. Then we follow up with them and we don't hear from them, right? And then when we're thinking, well, they went through they're in the ecosystem, like why aren't they converting? It's because they need to, again, based off of the consumer study, like I said with Google, they need to spend more time in your ecosystem and they need to have more touch points in your ecosystem. The way that we make this the most efficient is we have the processes behind it, like the actual how to create reels, right? And which we can go into detail if you guys want, what stories to post, and then also the DM framework. But the reason that this is important to note is because most of the people that come into your ecosystem, first of all, we're talking about like deals. This is with me, this is with my clients, that about 85% of the deal flow, like top line revenue, comes from outbound messages to this 15% of people. So if you think about that, we're never really even fucking around over here, like only to a certain point where like respectfully, we're like, oh, this dude's like a fucking waste of time. He has no money, or I literally can't help someone. How the fuck can you help someone that can't watch a YouTube video? Can't, right? That's not your prospect. The reason I'm saying this is because the way most coaches operate is they go, well, my content's good enough, people should just want to buy my shit, right? And they're very frustrated. I have friends like this. They're very frustrated. They're confused about how the business works, right? Great people, they're a little entitled, right? They're not fucking Kylie Jenner, right? You can't post your makeup palette and people are gonna buy your shit. The reason that this is important, like I was just saying before, was think about it. It's not that people don't want to buy you what you have. They want to buy what you have. Like, and people that challenge you in your sales process, they want it even more. They're just not they're not chumps, you know? Like, especially when you sell a higher ticket product, you're gonna get people that are like, no, I'm not gonna just fucking lay down and close. Like I wanna make sure like this is actually something that is going to be beneficial and I'm gonna get the ROI out of it. The reason I'm saying this is because if you operate off 85% outbound and you know that your deal flow is gonna come from outbound, this is the problem with, and Brandon, you'll meet a lot of guys like this, and I've worked with a ton of guys like this, and I just feel bad, right? And it's a concept that if they struggle to fully understand, they struggle to make money in the business. And it's the guys that are like top IFBB pros, or the guys that aren't top IFBB pros, are just pros and really smart, right? They struggle to understand the fact that there's a psychological aspect to getting people to convert, right? It's not just logical. Like just saying that something works and them knowing it, okay, look, I'll give you guys an example. If knowing was the difference, then no one would be a coach, right? If knowing was the difference, right? If someone just knowing the knowledge was the difference between them getting the result, then we wouldn't be a coach, right? A grown man knows broccoli is healthier than potato chips. So is that the difference in why he's not in shape? No, it's because his fucking ego is in the way of him making progress. This dismantles that because we hold the professional frame when we initiate the conversation, right? Is it weird for someone to follow you for 9 months? You post every day about your offer. They know you're a coach. Is it weird to initiate a conversation with someone like that? No, of course not. You're doing the right thing. It's almost weird not to. Think about it. If you had a gym and there's obese people that are coming into your gym every day, they want to get in shape, and you never initiate a conversation with any of them, they're gonna think you're a dick, they're gonna think you're not friendly. Now, if you were like, well, they know I'm a trainer, they should just come up to me, right? It's like, no, but that's the same logic that literally the fucking 3K a month coaches have, right? And even people that are stuck at 10. So the reason I'm saying that is because knowing the statistics is really important. Like knowing like, let's just say 2,500 a month for like, or 2,500 for 6 months. If we sold a program for 2,500 for 6 months and we sold 4 of them, that would be 10K. That's 4 people. That's literally 4% of 100. That's a very, very small amount of individuals. 4 deals to close in 30 days, that's 26 days of no deals. If you base your business off of consistent deal flow every single day, you're gonna think you fucking suck, right? You would think you suck. But then there's people making, for example, Evan, $40,000 last month, 11 clients. It makes sense when you start to break it down like this and realize you're like, oh, it's not just about mindless repeated action, just talking to everybody, right? Do we have to build a pipeline? Yeah, we still have to have this pipeline too. I want to make that apparent. Like all of these people, you don't really know where they're at until you have a conversation with them, right? If we had a requirement for people to just be inside of this building right now, it would be like everyone that has the requirement, we'd let them in. And then everyone that didn't, we'd be like, hey, sorry, you don't, it's the filtering mechanism. And then, right, it would be like, okay, well, you're in here, but only the best get upstairs, right? So then there would be another guy over here, and he'd be like, okay, you all qualify to get upstairs, right? Then you get upstairs, and then there's another guy that goes, oh, we're going to the rooftop, right? And then we filter it even more. And then the guys in the rooftop, those are our 15% of the people that we want to work with, right? Not everyone gets in. But we don't know who gets to the rooftop without first letting those people into the front door, right? We need those people first to see who we can convert to. This is the same thing as like in a DM conversation, Zach, how, I remember us talking, you were like, hey, it's like, should I continue this conversation, right? If it's like a 22-year-old kid, right? He's between Arby's and Foot Locker, right? He's like, oh, I'm trying to pull it together. It's like, well, the best case scenario is what? We just keep him in the nurturing ecosystem, right? What would be a smarter use of your time? To try to fucking wring him out like a fucking towel to get him closed on something that's $99? Or to take a step back, look at your pipeline and generate leads that fit your ICP. Get what I'm saying? 4 deals, $2,500 a pop, 10K a month. See, when you're selling a high ticket, when you're no longer selling the $200 or $300 a month coaching, you're like, okay, well, I'm not just gonna get any fucking asshole on the phone, Because you're like, I can't just pitch someone that's like this on 5K. They're gonna be like, this costs money? Like, seriously. And like, it's funny, but it's not funny when you're fucking taking sales calls and you're like telling your chick, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna build this multi-million-dollar business. Then you get a motherfucker that doesn't even know that the shit costs money when you get them on the phone. You get what I'm saying? Which I've been there so many times, bro. Like, it's just, I've gotten the worst people on the phone before, But something that I wanted to talk about, this Phil guy. The way that I identify Phil in this process is he was like a very quick conversion. So like, he saw 2 reels and he like hearts all my stories, and like it's almost like we couldn't get back to him fast enough. Like, he was very excited and he watched half the VSL because he was like, yeah, I don't even know, I want it, yes, I'm in, cool. Now there's gonna be people like this that come into your funnel, and they're just like that, the people that are at that 90 degrees Celsius. The way you look at it, man, is like, you want everyone that is in your funnel to watch the VSL, simply because.
Do you want to make it like a public post?
Yes, absolutely. But the majority of the views are not going to come from people who are just like, oh, I'm going to watch this video in his bio. You know what I mean? Like people are just, it doesn't work that way anymore. It's there if they need it, but 100%, you're using it as a nurturing mechanism, like in the conversation. The reason I wrote this is because like the VSL is meant to convert further, right? So like if you have a person that you're like, you kind of want to tell them to fuck off, you tell them to fuck off nicely with the VSL. Get what I'm saying? Because the best case scenario is that they spend time in your ecosystem. They just spend a longer amount of time watching your thing. The VSL exactly becomes the doorway that people have to walk through to even get on the call with you. It's further qualifying them, right? And this is another thing too, that comes with Frame. We'll talk about Frame a little bit more. But like, whereas most fitness coaches, they have an approach of like, they want to qualify themselves to people. We do the opposite, where we're constantly qualifying other people for our own program. And the way that we do this is like how we hold the frame. So I want to talk about frame really quick, because this is actually really profound. And I know I talk about this a lot, Zach and Brendan and even Nick, I talk about this a little bit, but I say this a lot in my coaching, right? I say, keep the frame. And basically what this means, like, and I'll give you an example, right? There is frame in a lot of different situations when it comes to people. Like, let's say you're fucking fighting with your older brother about something. You guys are fighting over, like, you could literally be toddlers fighting over a toy. Your big brother's like, you have to do this and like, give me the toy and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no, I'm not gonna listen to you. You're not the boss of me. So, and the reason why you're not gonna listen to him is because he doesn't have the frame in that situation. And then your dad comes home and he's like, toy, now he gets the toy, right? And you're immediately like, yes, I don't wanna get the belt or whatever. The reason that this is important is because dad has the frame in that situation. So in a sales conversation, or even a really good example of parallel would be like a doctor, right? If you went to a doctor's office, are you qualifying the fucking doctor in the doctor's office? No, the doctor's qualifying you. He's like, all right, well, what do you need? Like, right? Like, tell me about like what you're experiencing, right? And then they write the prescription. This is the same way in the sales conversations. Because like, keeping the frame is this. Let's say inside this frame is authority, assertiveness, conviction, value, and then like professionalism. If this is everything that's in the frame, that means that any time that you go outside of this, you lose the frame and then you no longer have control of the conversation. Who controls the frame when someone gets arrested? The police officer controls the frame, right? It doesn't matter what the fucking person in the cuffs, again, because I've been arrested, doesn't matter what the person says or even necessarily does because they don't control the frame, right? The fucking police controls the frame, then they throw you in, then you get booked, and then the COs, right? They control the frame. Like they're in control of the situation. The reason that this is important is because you can easily lose frame by not being congruent from content to DMs, and this is what I mean, like I was talking about before. With the VSL, we're qualifying them to be on our program. So if we want to keep frame, think about it. We're authentic, right? We're always real. We're assertive, so we're not talking to them like we're their friend. We're super convicted, so we believe fully that we can help them get the results. It's not like if. It's just, are you ready or not, right? It's not if. And then value and professionalism. So anytime they try to take us out of the frame, it's like I said before, that's what makes this so empowering. Is like, yes, everyone's different, a different part in their life, but we lose the frame when we go off on a tangent with them, right? But we keep the frame if we follow the DM framework that I wrote before that I can write out again. But we keep the frame in the conversation if we are assertive. And again, think about it. If we're so convicted in our belief to help somebody, and they say something to us that they're like, okay, well, you know, I'm just kind of working at my own pace. I'll get results when I get them. You know what I mean? If I go and say, well, dude, what do you mean? Is fitness not important to you, bro? You have so much potential. Like, what's going? Chill out. Why do you care so much, bro? Because I want the sale, right? That's why someone would be acting like that. They're gonna be like, is this dude good? I thought this was Gabe No Victim. I thought this was Gabe No Victim that's completely convicted in his beliefs. So why the fuck is he having to like push me on this sale? Get what I'm saying? When someone says that, that's why I always would tell people, and I tell my clients to do the same thing. I say, hey, it's better to let someone go and just have them stay in the ecosystem, because then if you try to push them too hard, then it's gonna seem like you want it more than it will benefit them. Get what I'm saying? And like I said, people aren't stupid. They know they're gonna give you money. But the reason that this is important to note is because essentially what this is being able to take the conversion process and have a daily system for it, right? So that no matter who the person is, you know by like, you know, day 90, someone that comes in, by day 90, they're gonna be in this 15%, and all it takes is a badass DM setter or yourself to go in and get that deal on the phone, and then close that deal. So again, I just think it's really important to like actually understand that, like, again, 85% of these deals are gonna come from outbound. Half of these people literally are not ever gonna buy from you. Really what you need to focus in on is this 35% and pushing them to the 15. The 15 are the only people that you're even really engaging with fully, like in full completion. And completion, that means like you start the DM conversation, you end the DM conversation within 36 hours, they're on a phone call, next day they're on the team, right? That actual process, it's gonna be different for everybody, but it would be like nice if we could make the process as efficiently as humanly possible, because then we can scale, right? Because if we're just like, oh, well, I'll post this, and it's like, yeah, it's like we can get clients by chance, or we can ensure that no matter what, if someone comes into this process, they're gonna end up fucking buying our shit in 90 days. Like, it's almost impossible. They are our ICP. They have been in this process, and watch the reels, watch the stories, watch the VSL. We can very, very likely predict the fact that they're gonna buy our shit.